These are the notes for section 8.3, factoring ax squared plus bx plus c. Okay. This is different from the previous factoring we've done of trinomials in that there is a coefficient before the x squared term, and that the a, b, and c do not have a greatest common factor to factor out. Looking at example 1, factor 3x squared minus x minus 4. Is there a greatest common factor to factor out? And that answer is no. So we're going to multiply the coefficient of x squared and negative 4. 3 times negative 4 is negative 12. So then we ask ourselves, what multiplies to negative 12 and adds to negative 1? That's our coefficient here in front of our x. Negative 4 times 3 is going to multiply to negative 12, and it's going to add to negative 1. So we're going to rewrite it as 3x squared minus 4x plus 3x minus 4. Now we have 4 terms, so we're going to go ahead and factor by grouping. We're going to have x times 3x minus 4 plus, nothing here to factor out, so we're going to write a 1 times 3x minus 4. Now we can factor by grouping 3x minus 4 times x plus 1. Example 2, factor 4x squared minus 27x plus 18. Is there a greatest common factor to factor out? And that answer is no. So this time we're going to multiply the coefficient of the x squared and the 18. So 4 times 18 is 76. No, I'm sorry, it's 72. So what multiplies to 72 and adds to negative 27? Our factors of 72 are 1 and 72, 2 and 36, 3 and 24. There we've got it. So negative 3 times negative 24 multiplies to 72 and adds to negative 27. So 4x squared, I'm going to write minus 24x minus 3x plus 18. Factor by grouping, and we can factor out a 4x, x minus 6 minus 3 times x minus 6. 4x minus 3 times x minus 6. Example 3, factor 5x squared plus 8x plus 3. No, there is not a greatest common factor. So we're going to multiply the coefficient of the x squared and the 3. 5 times 3 is 15. What multiplies to 15 and adds to 8? It's going to be 3 and 5. 5x squared, I'm going to write plus 5x plus 3x plus 3. Factor by grouping, so we can factor out a 5x times x plus 1 plus 3 times x plus 1. Factors to 5x plus 3 times x plus 1. Example 4. Is there a greatest common factor? No. So we're going to have to multiply negative 15 times 8. It's negative 120. So what multiplies to negative 120 and adds to positive 14? Our factors of 120 are 1 and 120, 2 and 60, 3 and 40, 4 and 30, 5, I'm going to divide out 120 divided by 5. I don't know, but I do know that 6 and 20 are the ones we want. They are 14 apart. To get a positive 14, we're going to need a positive 20 and a negative 6. So I'm going to write 20x minus 6x minus 15. Factoring by grouping, I'm going to factor out a 4x, 2x plus 5, minus 3 times 2x plus 5. 4x minus 3 times 2x plus 5. Example 5. We're going to factor 6x squared minus 11x plus 5. We'll start by 6 times 5 is 30. So the question is what multiplies to 30 and adds to negative 11? 5 and 6, negative 5 and negative 6. So I'm going to go ahead and write 6x squared minus 6x minus 5x plus 5. Factor by grouping, 6x times x minus 1 minus 5 times x minus 1. They both have a factor of x minus 1 times 6x minus 5. Example 6, factor 24 minus 2y minus y squared. We first want to rewrite it with our squared term first. So we're going to rewrite as negative 1y squared minus 2y plus 24. And now I'm going to factor out a negative 1. So negative 1 times y squared plus 2y minus 24. Now we don't even need to do the factoring by grouping. We need to ask what multiplies to negative 24 and adds to 2. It's going to be positive 6 and negative 4. It's going to be negative 1 times y plus 6 times y minus 4. Rewrite it with the squared term first. Example 7, we're going to factor 10 minus x minus 3x squared. Again, we want to deal with that squared term first, so we're going to rewrite negative 3x squared minus x plus 10. Factor out a negative 1, and we're going to have 3x squared plus x minus 10. And this time we are going to multiply 3 times negative 10, which is negative 30, and positive 1. So what multiplies to negative 30 and adds to 1? It's going to be positive 6 and negative 5. So we're going to have 3x squared plus 6x minus 5x minus 10, all times negative 1. Don't lose that negative 1 out in front. So it's negative 1 times, now we're going to factor out by pair, factor out the first 2 and then factor out the second 2. So 3x times x plus 2 minus 5 times x plus 2. Rewriting, negative 1 times 3x minus 5 times x plus 2. Example 8. Okay, 4a squared b squared minus 30a squared b plus 14a squared. Is there a greatest common factor to factor out? And that answer is yes. We can factor out a 2a squared. That's when we divide that out, we're going to have 2b squared minus 15b plus 7. Now just looking at the stuff inside the parentheses, 2 times 7 is going to be 14, so it multiplies to 14 and adds to negative 15. It's negative 1 and negative 14. Just dealing with the stuff on the inside, we're going to write 2b squared minus 1b minus 14b plus 7. And here I can factor out a b, and I'm going to have 2b minus 1 minus, I can factor out a 2, and I'm going to have 2b, I'm going to factor out a 7, and I'm going to have a 2b minus 1. 2b minus 1 times b minus 7, all multiplied by that 2a squared. First factor out the greatest common factor, and then factor the trinomial. These are the notes for section 8.3.